Hey guys, Drifter here. Today I've got a video for you about the Ratner Effect, which is a philosophical commentary, and those are always kind of high topic videos. Today we're going to be talking about overlapping areas of marketing, branding, language, memetics, association, and a lot of other stuff. The person that this is named after, Gerald Ratner, is a British businessman and part-time motivational speaker. He's still living, by the way. This guy isn't dead by any means. He's still doing quite well. But the story in question that's going to lead us to the Ratner Effect is, in short, he inherited his father's jewelry store in the 1980s after his father passed. Now, he was already a successful businessman and motivational speaker, so he took this very small jewelry store and started growing it. He found a model that was successful. He turned it into a chain and then a franchise, and it exploded into a mega corporation. It was one of the fastest growing companies in the United Kingdom at the time, at least in the jewelry market. You want to think something like Kay's, Jared's, Zales, etc., but with one difference, one sort of exception, and that was that it's a very low-cost jewelry. As a matter of fact, it's insanely low cost. I mean, you could get jewelry there for $5, for $10, for $15. You could buy jewelry to give, sell, wear, whatever, and the goods were cheap. They were low-quality goods, and I don't believe that any of the customers were under the illusion that they were fancy, expensive things, or that they were really like top-tier diamonds for $5. But they weren't supposed to be. They were supposed to be cheap goods, and he sold them to lower income and some lower middle income customers in the United Kingdom at really low margins, but he did so in huge volumes, kind of like, say, Walmart. And if you know anything about Walmart, you know that Walmart doesn't make a whole lot of money on each individual item that they sell, but they sell a ton of items. So overall, Walmart does quite well, and Gerald Ratner did quite well. He made crazy money at this. He was buying houses and cars and Lamborghinis. That's also a car. I don't know why I said that twice. Boats. He had some famous mistresses, and life was treating him well. But it didn't stay that way. In 1991, after running this successful business for many years, he was invited to be a guest speaker at a semi-private business investment industry event. There were about 6,000 people that attended, other businessmen, investors, some journalists, some media. It would have been considered kind of a dry event by the general public, kind of a simple one. I'm like floofing my own hair here in the commentary. Not one that too many people really would have cared about. But he was supposed to be giving his speech about why his company was so successful, and he pretty much tanked the entire company in about 10 seconds. Some great quotes that he had from his speech I'm going to read you are, "How can I sell this jewelry at such a low price? I can do it because it's total crap." And he was also famous for saying, "I sold a pair of earrings for under £1. This is the UK, so that's like $2, which is cheaper than a shrimp sandwich from a famous sandwich shop, but probably won't last you as long as the shrimp sandwich." His whole speech was about how he managed to capture the market on insanely low-cost goods because it didn't make sense how he could stay in business selling like $5 jewelry. Unfortunately, the words that he chose for this event and to describe his own products were cheap, crap, trash, inexpensive, worthless. Just had a whole list of things bad to say about his own product. It was shocking to the people at the event, since there were journalists there and this was recorded. TV media picked it up and blasted it just about everywhere for a couple of months. And it was even a common topic for discussion amongst customers and just general people in the UK, because this was recognized as one of their fastest growing brands or chains. Like, you know, new ones were opening up all over the place, kind of like how Starbucks does here in the US. But this clip of him saying that it's total crap was played over and over and over and over, and the business pretty much died because, in short, most of the customers were men buying jewelry for their significant others. And what girl wants a piece of jewelry that is widely known as being total crap? The answer is none of them. No self-respecting woman wants her boyfriend to bring her something that everybody knows is crap. So sales went way down. They were just like bottom of the barrel. The ship was sinking, and his company plummeted in value by over $800 million within a year. It was rebranded, they renamed it, they did a lot of different things, they kicked him out, they hired other people, but it never recovered. The business is just sank, it's done, it's gone. And he managed to sink this business irreparably in a matter of seconds. Now, Gerald Ratner is still alive. He's still in business today, quite literally in the jewelry business. He has a lot of holdings in India. He owns a spa. He's a businessman. He adapted and he survived. But there are some key take-homes here from the Ratner Effect, which is, of course, named after this man. And the first one is that words matter a lot. Words are tended to be discounted in modern society, especially in the information age, when you're overflowed or overflooded with words and just information from all over the place. You would think, and companies and brands make this mistake all the time, that you saying one thing or you making one mistake doesn't matter, that it can easily be forgotten, but that's not true. Words matter a lot, and they matter a lot more if they're very simple word brandings. Very small little associations are incredibly powerful, such as cheap jewelry. A example of the Ratner Effect literally in action right now, you can watch this happening, is Battlefield 5. I probably don't need to remind too many of you about the controversies, politically speaking, around Battlefield 5, but we'll do them briefly. The game launched with a bunch of women, wasn't really historically accurate, kind of strange in a lot of ways. The CEO of EA called fans uneducated and said if they don't want to play it, they shouldn't buy the game. Fans, understandably, got pissed off at this, and they didn't buy the game. They got even more mad. Some of the developers got touchy about politically correct topics. They had a text filter that censored out white men. And thanks to Twitter, YouTube, the internet, and just everything else, Battlefield 5 has subsequently been branded as Social Justice Warrior Field 5, or Battlefield Equality 5, or just any kind of sort of meme name like this. And it's stuck, and it's stuck hard. And anytime EA tries to come out and say something or do damage control, they get nothing but flooded with a whole bunch of messages about, I'm sorry, I'm too uneducated to understand this, or, oh, you told me not to buy it, so I didn't. The CEO of EA and DICE and most of the people responsible for marketing this game literally Ratner affected their entire product launch for this fall. You can see it happening. The sales for Battlefield 5 are down. Physical sales, which are the only ones we can track, are down 50%. There's already been a price cut on the game by 50%. It's getting lambasted a lot of places, primarily for political stuff, and it's struggling, which is a shame because I have fun playing the game. Beautiful game, by the way. One of the few that has ray tracing enabled. But you can't beat that simple word branding. You can't make some giant presentation of complex information and talking about why Battlefield is good and do better than Social Justice Warrior Field 5. You just can't take that on. It's so hard locked into the product now. Another example would be Lawbreakers, branded literally on launch as a dead game. So I'm wearing my Lawbreakers hoodie right now that I got at the launch event, of course, along with the Obama Turned My Frogs Gay with Chemicals shirt. By the way, Lawbreakers made fantastic hoodies. This is one of the best hoodies I own. Their merchandise is top tier. But the player base was small on launch, which was expected, but it was so small that gamers just said, dead game, dead on launch, dead game. And since it's a multiplayer game, nobody wants to play a dead game, and it discouraged almost anybody else from trying it, and the brand sank. You can see a different, it's not a Ratner effect, but we're moving off a little bit, little off the beaten path into how strong these simple word associations are. You can see that with the Xbox One launch and the PlayStation 4 launch, which are, what, 4, maybe 5 years old now? Xbox One had their whole launch planned and everything. Unfortunately, the #1 word associated with Xbox One on launch was DRM, because they weren't going to have shareable disk that was going to tie to your console. You had to have online connectivity. It was nothing but DRM, 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 and no matter how hard Xbox tried to get away from that, they never could. Sony, having their launch a week later, redid everything. They scrapped tons of stuff and scrambled and did the exact opposite and focused really hard on these kind of snarky little videos about sharing. Like, oh, I want to give a game to a friend? There you go. And they would just say, no DRM, open sharing. And there was tons of other associated stuff with these consoles, of course. But the campaigns were largely defined by the 2-word argument, or 3-word, DRM versus open. That was pretty much it, and that was the choices that gamers made, and they overwhelmingly chose open with PlayStation 4, and no matter how much backtracking Xbox did, no matter how much updates, they flipped the switch, they tried super hard to market, they did a bunch of different stuff, they couldn't beat that word association. Speaking of marketing campaigns, I want to talk very briefly on political campaigns. President Trump is a literal master of this simple word branding. Matter of fact, the president is extremely good at branding in general. I'm not on the Trump train. I'm not a big fan of a lot of the politics and stuff. But I have to give credit where credit is due. This man understands the memetics of words. He understands why people believe certain phrases, what phrases are effective, the flow of the phrases. He just crushes it. Just some brief examples. Crooked Hillary. He said it over and over and over, and it stuck. It stuck to the point where when I hear Hillary now, I literally think about Crooked Hillary. Build the wall. It flows really well. It's simple. It's memorable. It's actionable. It explains itself. Make America Great Again, or MAGA, great acronyms. It rhymes in a sense. It's alliterative, which is also important. We're going to get to that later. But all of these short little phrases, they flowed well. They rolled off the tongue. They were easy to understand. You could associate those phrases with a person or an action very, very quickly and easily. And it helped him win the campaign. It helps him do a lot of things, especially within his base. Of course, outside the base, people get angry at everything. But he's incredibly good at this. And these sort of strategies with word brandings and associations are more effective in several unexpected ways. Number one is that, believe it or not, words that rhyme are considered more truthful. There have been several studies done on this, but I kid you not, phrases that rhyme are considered more truthful than phrases, period. Like O.J. Simpson's trial, if the glove doesn't fit, you must acquit. Or if you're looking for poison ivy, leaves of 3, let it be. A very common one, this was an older one that I learned as a kid. Red sky at night, sailor's delight. Red sky at morning, sailor take warning. We don't really know that much about a lot of these things. Not many of you could probably identify poison ivy, and not many of you are experienced seamen, I hope. Ugh, why did I choose that word? And you wouldn't really know, just right now, sitting at your computer or watching on your cell phone, what a red sky at night would mean if you're on a boat. But you would probably think back to these old rhymes and you would just take them at their word. One of the reasons is that we are psychologically hardwired, because language is so important to the way our brains work. We are primed to believe things that rhyme. The same is true for words that have a better poetic flow. Even if they don't literally rhyme, like morning and warning, night, delight, words that flow well, words that follow the iambic pentameter and those sort of things that you learn in your 9th grade English class, are considered more truthful and believable than any other phrase, which is just kind of crazy. So the flow of your phrasing affects how believable it is, and the truthfulness of a phrase is also changed by the more often you see it / hear it. Even if you never believed it to begin with, just not at all, the more often you see it over and over and over in print and media and TV and friends and family and blah, 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 subconsciously you start believing it just based on frequency, because it seems like the whole world around you is believing it. There is the famous quote, repeat a lie often enough and it becomes truth, a good old Nazi Joseph Goebbels quote, but it works really well. And that phrase is true, that if you repeat a lie, or any truth really, or even some BS, which I consider BS to be a little different than a lie on a nomenclature reason. But if you say one thing over and over and over and you put a lot of emphasis in it, it gets out there, like anti-vaccines cause autism. Clearly not true, never been proven to be true, but it's simple and it's easy to say, and thousands of people say it, and enough people see it and just kind of believe that it's true. So what's the point of all this? Where are we going with today's video? The point of all this is that simple word associations are insanely powerful, hence the Ratner Effect. Cheap jewelry, business failure. Social justice warrior field 5, business failure. You can look at political stuff or little rhymes and stuff as well, but really simple word associations, incredibly strong, and businesses, especially in the gaming industry, in our modern information age, need a reminder of this, and they need to be more careful about how they present things in the future. You as a person living in the information age that is getting bombarded with more information than your brain can truly logically process, it is to your benefit to be aware of some of these biases in our thinking. It'll make you pause, make you think, maybe check to make sure that everything is on point. And if on the rare case you're giving a big public speech sometime in the future, if you're an expert in your field, if you're trying to get elected at, city council, if you're working on some project in high school, or just anything with a big audience, you need to take a second to think about what you're saying, because some of the small, simple words you use might have really big unintended consequences. And guys, that's all for this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something useful. If you did, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Drifter out.